black queens forever, snow bunnies never. I said black queens forever, snow bunnies never. I said black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
Hello, true believers, it's your boy Superfly, and welcome to the Superfly Comics official review of Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Now, you might be wondering, why am I not greeting you with my usual over-the-top Superfly flair? Why am I maintaining such serious eye contact with you, the viewer? Why am I keeping my voice at a low, monotone tone? The answer is quite simple.
This movie was gas, bro, and absolutely banging. One of the best movies ever seen. So good.
You see, if you follow me on TikTok at Superfly Comics or on Instagram at I Am Superfly, you know that it is not a well-kept secret how much I love the first Into the Spider-Verse movie.
My favorite comic book movie of all time. My favorite comic book movie of all time. My favorite comic book movie of all time.
Everyone knows my argument, right? Or are we all playing dumb?
I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to him. Saying that Into the Spider-Verse isn't a top-tier comic book movie just because it's animated is asinine.
Coward bummer.
I get it!
Ever since the first time I saw it in theaters in December of 2018, it has left quite a sizable impression on me, to the point where I would be very confident in saying that it is not only my favorite Spider-Man movie, not only my favorite comic book movie, but also my favorite movie in general.
Yeah, we bloody know. You never shut up about it.
And in fact, my love for this movie extends so far to the point where every time I even attempt to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and how much I love it, I can't help but fly a little off the handle.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So for this particular review, I'm going to do my best to maintain my composure. I'm going to keep it as neutral, as unbiased, and professional as I possibly can to ensure my personal biased opinion is not influencing my review of this new Across the Spider-Verse movie. That being said, oh my god, this movie is amazing! Oh, it's so good! This movie, man! How did they make it?
How, Sway?
I can't believe this movie is even able to exist. I'm still in complete and utter disbelief. This might be the best movie I've ever seen in my life. It's just, I'm okay. Everything that I loved about that first Into the Spider-Verse movie in Across the Spider-Verse is just ratcheted up to 11. The visuals in this movie are absolutely insane, bro. It's like I've never done drugs. I don't do drugs personally. It's not something that I'm interested in ever experiencing with, but it's what I would imagine it would be like to be on LSD in terms of like the color palette, and like the things that you see are just like they melt your brain and make you feel like, oh shit, what am I watching? Like, you can't even believe that it's real. In every scene you watch of this movie, in every single frame that's animated, you can just see the time, care, and attention to detail that the animators put into it. Meticulous and painstaking time and care that went into this movie is evident in every single frame. In every scene of this movie, you just can feel the love that the people working on it had for this story and for these characters. Every single action scene is fucking gas, bro. I don't know what it is about this animation team in particular, but their ability to innovate and find new and engaging ways to tell this bombastic, larger-than-life story never ceases to amaze me. The character designs are flawless. The outfits and costumes they wear are spectacular, no pun intended. The voice acting is phenomenal. There's not a single artistic aspect of this movie that feels underserved or underutilized. The filmmakers of this project use every single tool at their disposal to make the most they possibly can out of this medium. Now I'm being dead ass with this take, bro. If the animation of this movie was literally all it had going for it, like if this was just a poorly written movie that had animation that was this high quality, I I would have still said that this movie is fantastic. I still would have loved it all the same. But the fact that the story of this movie is still so strong and compelling and emotionally satisfying is just, it makes it all the more amazing. I really don't understand how they did it, how they continue to pull this off, how they continue to make these Spider-Verse movies as such an authentic representation of what the character is supposed to be, especially when you have like 250 different variations of that character in this movie. In Across the Spider-Verse, we get to see the further progression of Miles Morales' character, and we get to see him grow into more of a man and more of a hero. In the first movie, it was very much about him just learning the ropes, learning how to use his powers, figuring out what he wants to fight for and what kind of hero he wants to be, figuring out where his place is in the Spider-Verse and where his place is in the world and in his family. This movie very much takes the next logical step in his character development. Now, instead of trying to become Spider-Man, the question then becomes, what kind of Spider-Man do I want to be? In usual Spider-Man fashion, we see Miles struggling to maintain that balance between his regular life as Miles Morales and his life as a superhero Spider-Man, and how that often conflicts with how his family views him. With him getting older and in his sophomore year of high school and starting to plan out for his future, his parents are starting to have certain expectations for the things that they want him to do in his life. And Miles, always being a free-spirited, creative person, just wants to find his own way and do his own thing. And as somebody who struggled with that myself growing up with my own family and trying to rectify their expectations of me with the things that I wanted for my life, I definitely related to what Miles was going through with his family. But you also see the other side of it as well. His parents are still super lovable and sympathetic. You can tell that even though they're super tough on Miles, they still love him and care about him. I made a whole 2-minute video that I posted on TikTok earlier on the day of this recording, where I was just talking about how much I appreciated Miles' dad, Jefferson Davis, as a character, and how he's a perfect representation of what healthy masculinity looks like. So if you want to see more about my thoughts on that, be sure to check that video out. The emotional through line of the family aspect in this movie only gets stronger as the movie progresses. Spider-Gwen is also really great in this movie. She was one of the characters that I really wanted to see more of in that first Into the Spider-Verse movie, but in Across the Spider-Verse, Gwen is front and center. She is like a super integral part of the narrative, and I loved being able to dive deeper into her backstory and into her relationship with her family and the people in her universe, and just everything from the way her universe was designed is just like, it's beautiful. The way that the animators found different ways to implement different art styles into this movie is just phenomenal. Every single universe that the Spider People visit feels like its own separate universe with its own distinct look and feel to it. And this is also a movie that introduces a lot of new Spider-Men that are brought into the fold, whether it's Praviter Prabhakar, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, as the Indian Spider-Man from the universe where I believe India and the city of New York are kind of like merged into one city. Spider-Cat, a spider who is a cat, I guess. Scarlet Spider, who is voiced by Andy Samberg, who's like literally entire personality trait just boils down to, ugh, I'm just so tortured. I'm just so dark and twisted. And it's like, I know that joke is like kind of juvenile, but like as someone who is familiar with like the melodrama that is the 90s Clone Saga, where Ben Reilly came from, I really appreciated how they just kind of pantsed his character. Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman is also in this, who is like a pregnant superhero, which was kind of interesting to see. We also see a lot of familiar faces come back, like Peter B. Parker, who now has his own daughter who is like a baby, who he for some reason keeps bringing with him into battle. And even though I really love the inclusion of his character in this movie, that was one of the things that kind of had me scratching my head, because it's like, bro, you're supposed to be all about like great power and great responsibility, so why are you bringing your daughter into superhero fights, bro? Like, what's up with that? Like, and I know that they were just doing that for laughs, that they were just doing it to play up the joke, like, hey, Peter Parker's an irresponsible dad, guys, he's bringing his daughter into battle. Yeah, I don't know if I really felt that like that was in character for Peter to do, but you know, it is what it is. And one of the things that I really appreciated about this movie was the pacing. The pacing never felt like it was off, even for an instant. There was not a single scene in this movie that I felt was wasted or that didn't need to be there. Every single scene played into the next and paid off into the next. There's absolutely nothing I would change about this movie. I love it so much. It only makes me that much more excited to see the third Spider-Verse film. I really don't know how they're going to even attempt to top this one, but mind you, after I saw that first Into the Spider-Verse movie, I really didn't know how they were going to top that, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, man, as you can see, I really enjoyed my experience watching this movie. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is easily my favorite film of the year right now, and I honestly don't see any of the upcoming movies that are coming from Hollywood up to this point coming close to topping this one. And I'm not gonna lie, I was very skeptical going into this movie, not only because of how much I loved that first Into the Spider-Verse film and how much I didn't think that this movie was going to be able to measure up to it, but also because based off the trailers that I saw and based off of like all the news headlines I was reading about this movie, it seemed like Sony was throwing everything but the kitchen sink into this movie. And it feels like every time Sony does that, every time Sony tries to like include all these different aspects of Spider-Man mythology and cram them into one movie, it feels very bloated. We get Spider-Man 3s, we get Amazing Spider-Man 2s, and we get like just these overly like jam-packed projects that have so much shit in them that they forget to tell a cohesive story that actually honors the character. So when I saw the headlines that this movie was going to feature over 250 original Spider-Verse characters, well, not original, from the comics, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned, because I feel like one of the aspects that made the first Spider-Verse movie work so well was the fact that the cast was very tight and very close-knit. Miles Morales' Spider-Man was at the center of it, and we were following his origin story, and there were 5 other Spider-Men who appeared in that movie. And even though they all had like their own stuff to do and they all had their own backstories that were kind of explored in that movie, it was still mainly a Miles-centric story, and he was the focal point and he was at the center of it. So it never felt like the movie was too crowded. So even though that first Into the Spider-Verse movie had a lot of external elements at play, the main narrative of the film still felt very focused. But in this movie, not only did we get introduced to a lot of new Spider-Men who are joining the main cast, we were also getting introduced to all these new lore aspects. They're also taking the opportunity in this one to expand the lore and introduce different elements of the Spider-Verse into this story. But somehow, the way that this movie is written, even though there's so much multiverse craziness, it manages to never lose the heart of what made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse so great. And not only does it maintain that heart, it expands on it to create something even better. We get to see different aspects of Miles' character that they didn't get to flesh out a lot in that first movie. We get to see new elements of Gwen's character. We get to explore a lot more of her backstory and where she came from and her universe and her relationship with the people around her. The only minor critiques I would make about this movie are, and these are just like minor nitpicks, things that like really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but there's still nitpicks that I have. One, I really don't think the score of this movie, like the music and the songs that were introduced in this movie, really hit the same as the ones from the first movie. They got Metro Boomin to make some new songs for this movie, and I really like their music, so you won't hear a complaint from me. But when I look back at the songs that were introduced in that first Into the Spider-Verse movie, What's Up Danger, Riot, Sunflower, Elevate, like all these iconic songs that like you could just blast on repeat and like instantly get hit with the wave of nostalgia watching that first movie for the first time. I don't really get that here. The songs in this movie are just kind of okay. They're just kind of, well, they're good, but just not like, not at the level that I would have hoped for the songs to be at, if that makes sense. Secondly, one thing that kind of caught me off guard with this movie that I wouldn't even necessarily call this bad, it's just something that caught me off guard. The cliffhanger at the end of this movie is just devious, bro. I have never seen a cliffhanger in a movie that has like just frustrated me this much, like, and frustrated me in a good way, frustrated me in a way that like I need to see the sequel like right now, today, like immediately. But yeah, man, there are a lot of different elements that like I want to talk about with this movie, but I can't really get into without going into spoilers. So if that's something that you guys would like to see, if you would like to see like a fully in-depth spoiler review of this movie, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and that's something that we might be able to make happen. So yeah, this is going to be a shorter video than usual because I just feel like I'm like kind of preaching into the choir. There's nothing that I can really say about this film that hasn't already been said. It's just, it's good. It's a good movie. It's not just a good movie, it's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's a stupendous movie. It's spectacular, amazing, ultimate, like all of the Spider-Man objectives that you could possibly think of. This movie is. Go watch it. Like right now. I'm looking at you, viewer. You need to watch this movie. Do it. go. So that's about it for me, guys. What did you think about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Are you excited for the sequel? Are you excited to see what Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to do with this character? And who was your favorite Spider-Person in this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and if you fly like me, give me a follow.